Welcome back to the Getting Grip podcast. It's Miami time, baby. Yeah. I didn't say welcome to Miami this time. I wasn't going to do the Will Smith rendition. I'll spare you that pain on this Tuesday morning or Monday evening or something else wherever you're watching or listening from.
It will be something else for the people that are listening.
Well, depends on people like listening to their podcast, doesn't it? Maybe they listen to this to help them go to sleep. Maybe it's that. That's what I do anyway. But yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, we'll.
You listen to us when you fall asleep.
No, not us. A podcast.
Thank God, honestly.
Oh. Don't want to put myself through that. Anyway, yeah. So we're gonna crack straight on with some Miami quiz questions. We obviously are. Are we halfway through? We're sort of halfway through.
It feels like it's before halfway.
Yeah, we're at sort of fourth round stage, third or fourth round stage. But far enough in for a lot of the seeds to have fallen already. There was one particular day where I was looking through the scores and it was just like unseeded player win, unseeded player win. I was like, what's going on here? Is there something like in the water? All of them just dropping like flies. But yeah, so we're sort of it's a week and a half, a bit like Indian Wells. So we're like halfway through, getting towards crunch time. But Merlin is going to test me out, and no doubt I'll embarrass myself as usual. But let's see if I can get at least three. So over to you, quiz master.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think honestly, for me, the reason that you might have seen a lot of the seeded players dropping out is because you basically have a long tournament before it, the Indian Wells, and then you're straight into Miami. Some of them are probably going to be tired, especially when they're reaching, the deeper end of something like Indian Wells. Still quite warm out there. Never know, might contribute to the tiredness. Anyway, yes, we are into the second of what's known as the Sunshine Double in the ATP and the WTA tours. If you manage to win both titles consecutively in the same year, then they call it the Sunshine Double. And some of the greats have had a go at that, and it's always nice to see. Interestingly, do you know who's done that the most? This isn't one of the questions.
Did we do this last time?
Yeah,
Djokovic.
I want to see if you can remember your own question.
Djokovic.
Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a good start.
Can I have that point?
No.
Oh.
Okay, we'll call that a warm up. But anyway, so we've got a few questions. They're all Miami focused and they're all Miami themed. They include, interestingly, they include a lot of Americans. What a shock! But question number one is all about something that is used at the tournament. So, what I want to know for question number one is which company supplies the tennis balls which are used at the Miami Open. So this is a tough one because there is some tight competition in the market between different companies that supply tennis balls at different tournaments. Different tournaments have their own preferences. Different players will have their own preferences based on whether they like to take higher balls, lower balls, slice and dice, whatever. Your four options for the Miami Open are Head, Dunlop, Wilson, and Slazenger. What do you reckon? Which of these four companies provides the tennis balls at the Miami Open?
No, I'm pretty sure it's not Slazenger. Not to discredit Slazenger. Keep up the great work, guys.
Slazenger provide the balls at one of the best tournaments in the world, actually, Ben. So,
well, yeah, they do. But no, still no to them. Nah, I don't think it's Wilson either. So between Dunlop and Head, and I mean it's an ATP tour event, so I'm sort of convinced that they all should use similar balls. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but that is my theory. And I believe that the ATP balls are generally Dunlop. So I'm going to go with Dunlop, but I'm not confident.
Final answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah, that's correct. Dunlop are indeed the provider of the tennis balls at the Miami Open. They use the extra heavy duty balls, apparently. No idea why, but apparently these are balls that are favoured by a lot of the players on the tour. And this might be related to the conditions of the hard courts out there. Lets them open up and rip through the ball a little bit more punch, a bit more of a bullet through the ball. Which inevitably leads to winners. So, yeah, you can imagine why some players are a bit more of a fan of that type of ball.
Yeah, it's so Dunlop. They just provide like pretty much the balls for most of the ATP events. They're the official ball
Yeah,
supplier.
pretty much. Most, not all. Different tournaments will have their own deals effectively, but yeah, you can. There is a little bit more of a favour amongst anything that's associated with the ATP Tour in terms of decision making.
And I assume WTA probably use Dunlop as well, do they?
Yeah,
Or
so at the
question for you.
tournament, the balls will be the same for both male and female players. Yeah, that doesn't change.
I thought at the US Open they used didn't they use different balls on the men's and women's side? I know that's not strictly.
I don't know actually, but
I thought there was like controversy and the last one about like the balls being too soft or something. But maybe that was the same for both men and women. Yeah, you would think that they should use the same balls on both sides, but
I would think that, yeah.
But
I can understand the arguments if someone's going to say, "Oh, well, this is better suited to different styles of game," for example, because that's one of the things that club players, for example, they know quite well. Home and away, you might find they're different courts, but these clubs as well will probably use different tennis balls for these matches, and so home matches they're going to choose the ball that suits their court better. So if they've say got that horrible sort of Astro sort of surface where the only thing to do is slice and dice. Are you going to choose a very bouncy ball? No, you're going to choose something that's a bit dead and dies off a little bit quicker. So, yeah, it all depends. Whereas for me, if I was playing on a hard court, I'd want the hardest possible tennis ball because then you put a little bit of topspin on that and that's kicking. Yeah, always worth considering. Anyway, we will move on to question number 2. You got 1 out of 1 so far, 100% so far. That might be the first and only time that we'll be able to say that today. Anyway, Hard Rock Stadium has only recently held the Miami Open, home to the NFL's Miami Dolphins. Roger Federer was actually the first male winner there.
Oh.
But who did he beat in the final? And you have 4 options here. John Isner, Andy Roddick, Pete Sampras, or Sam Querrey?
I know he did beat Isner in a final because I was watching highlights the other day, which was rather lovely, which I sent you.
I know.
But I'm trying to think of when they changed the venue. And that is so Federer did it in 2019. But did it happen before then? But then if he won it, no, I remember actually, yeah. Because when he won it in 2017, I seem to remember it was a different court and like the stadium was a bit more open. You can kind of tell the difference because when you're watching it, it's like almost like a bit more shady because it's got a bit more of a roof than whatever that other place was. So I'll stick with what I know. I think it might have been 2019 when he beat Isner, and that was his final Masters win, I think. So yeah, I'll go with that one.
Well, absolutely correct with extra information, which is brilliant. Yes, it was indeed 2019. It was indeed John Isner that he beat in the final. And yeah, that's absolutely right. It was, like I say, it was very, very recently that the Miami Open has changed stadiums, which doesn't happen very often these days. Once a tournament's set up in a location, it tends to stay there now. Sort of open era and then sort of around turn of the noughties that these sort of tournaments maybe started to change where they were. But yeah, absolutely right. Well done. Wow, that felt like you'd answered a question after a bit of research. Quite
Well,
proud.
not researched directly for this, but mainly because I love Federer, as we know.
Yes. Yeah,
But
I put
yeah.
the question in there because it had Federer. And I thought, yeah, Ben will
Oh.
get this one. So I
How
should have
sweet.
known you'll get it correct.
But yeah, I seemed like the court color was different as well.
Yeah,
At the previous venue,
the
wasn't it
green
like
and blue.
green? Was it green and blue?
It was a green and blue before, yeah. Blue
And
court on a green
yeah,
outer.
and now it's like a light blue and a dark blue, which I actually quite like. I don't know,
I
aesthetically,
think
I
I
think it's
think
quite
it's a really
nice.
nice looking court. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Color combos for a hard court or a perspex or anything like that. Yeah, yeah. If you go light blue, dark blue, that does look nice.
Mm, well done, Miami. Well done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Not that they need congratulating.
No, I'm sure they've made enough money.
Anyway, 2 out of 2. Well, a bit goading. He's still on 100%. I mean, fair play. You started off well.
Thank you.
Anyway, it can only go downhill. Question number 3. What I want to know is which player and or players, male or female, boast the most titles at the Miami Open. And your 4 options here are, and this will help you understand why I said player and or players. Your 4 options are Novak Djokovic, Andre Agassi, Serena Williams, or the Bryan brothers. And this is why I introduced players, because obviously they have played as a doubles pair or had played as a doubles pair for quite a number of years. So who do you think, out of those 4 options, won the most titles at the Miami Open?
I don't know if you're trying to goad me into one particular answer here.
No,
Or trying to
I'm not.
throw me off.
I was just explaining the options.
Hmm. Well, I don't think it's Agassi. We know Djokovic has won at least 4 because he's won the Sunshine Double 4 times. So he's probably won it more than 4 times. No Federer on there.
Nope.
Tears running down my face.
Historically, he's not actually done well. I say he's not done that well at Miami. He's not done as well at Miami as he may have, say, done at Wimbledon, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose the courts are a little bit slower. I'm torn between Serena and the Bryan brothers. Now, they are both American, as it turns out. And Agassi is also American.
The Americans love a home crowd.
Oh, I really don't know. You know what? I'll be goaded on this occasion. I will go down the doubles route, show some love to the Bryan brothers, and I will choose them as the most decorated Miami Open winners.
Final answer. Fortunately, you need to get a grip. The 100% correct answers has eluded you this week. It was not Bob and Mike Bryan, who, as a pair, have won the tournament 6 times together, and they've not played it with any. Well, they've not won it unless they've played with each other. So they've won it 6 times.
That's
Equally, so have Novak Djokovic and Andre Agassi, who have won it the most times collectively, as in they're on the same number between themselves for the men. And this is where Serena Williams is quite naturally the most serene winner.
Serene Williams.
After that, yeah. I wanted to get that in there, but it was a struggle. The struggle to say it on a tired brain. But yes, she has actually won it the most times with 8, I believe.
Blimey.
So yeah, quite impressive. The Americans love a home crowd, and yeah, Serena Williams is certainly one of them.
Wow. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, she was very dominant, wasn't she, for an extended period of time. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive though, because as we said, like this normally follows off the back of Indian Wells. So to be able to keep that form after having already played like, you know, a week and a half of another Masters event is pretty impressive, assuming that she did play, you know, them back to back most years. So yeah, big respect. I mean, she obviously did have a powerful game, so like slightly slower courts, that's still gonna work in her favor. But yeah, 8 times, that's like some players' careers are like about 8 years or not even as long as that at the top level. So yeah, big respect on Serena's name.
Indeed. Well, all of these winners' names, because they've all won it the most times in their specific field, but when you put them all together, Serena comes out on top. Anyway, question number 4. So you got 3 out of 4. No, 2 out of 4.
Hopefully I'll have 3 out of 4 after this one.
My brain is completely gone this week. Anyway, question number 4. You've got 2 out of 3 so far. What I want to know is which year Hawkeye was used for the first time at the Miami Open. And the reason I ask this question is because the Miami Open was actually the first tournament ever to utilize Hawkeye for players to make challenges to line calls. But what I want to know is which year this was. And you've got 4 options. 2004, 2006, 2008, and 2010.
Now I got to rack my brain as to around what time period Hawkeye came in. I'm instantly drawn towards the middle 2. Or maybe if I just try and think of when Wimbledon started it, that'll give me like a rough idea. Or it's definitely quite a while ago. Like, I mean, we're almost phasing it out now, right? Because we're moving it. Well, what's the word? We're not phasing it out, but we're using it instead of using line judges, aren't we? So they've probably got a different name for it now. But 06 or 08, those were the middle 2, right? This is tricky. So we need cameras that were good enough and the technology at that time. But it was the first tournament to do it. I'm going to go with 2000 and still thinking 2006.
Oh God, I physically aged in the time it took you to answer that. Is 2006 your final answer? Better be.
Yeah.
Okay. Well done. You actually got it right. Well done. Yeah, that is correct. 2006 was indeed the first year that Hawkeye was used on the ATP and WTA tours, and this was done at the Miami Open in America. So yeah, good job, Hawkeye.
That's interesting.
I mean, yeah, it is interesting. I actually think it's funny because for me, I don't really remember not having Hawkeye. But the likes of Roger Federer, for example, they had a good few years of their career without it. So it's just interesting to see that, you know, not necessarily that it changed very much. The line calls are certainly a part of the game that we adore now. The idea, I don't know if it's going to be in or out, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's a great part for the crowds. But yeah, interesting to see that phase of it being half used is now potentially over. The idea that it might replace the very need for lines judges.
Well, yeah, Federer didn't really like it initially. I don't think he trusted he didn't trust the technology. He was terrible at like challenging calls and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting that because I feel like HD cameras, all that sort of stuff became mainstream after that point. Like I remember like TV channels and stuff, maybe around 2008 or something. That's when HD cameras started coming in.
You got to remember the technology has probably been developed
Yeah.
for probably a decade before that moment. The point being is it hadn't necessarily become commercial to all of the different levels of society, for example. So yeah, the quality cameras have still existed.
Yeah, and I imagine it must have cost quite a significant amount, especially being the first tournament, to use it before it then became, widespread, and then, you take advantage of economies of scale and all that sort of stuff. But like, yeah, I mean, I suppose that shows them as being innovative, or whatever you want to call it, as a tournament. All these tournaments are trying to market themselves as like pushing the boundaries and stuff. I know, especially like the Australian Open are always like big on all kind of like bringing in new technology, or just new ways of doing things. Yeah. So fair play for them for like taking that initial step, because like, even though now we see it as just like a normal thing, right, at the time it would have been a little bit risky, because you would have had players probably a bit reticent to use it or whatever. So yeah, well done to them for doing that. And now we're phasing it like into a different way now, obviously, like getting rid of line judges and stuff. So it's come on a lot, obviously, since that time.
It's interesting you say that these tournaments want to portray themselves as being, pushing the boundaries, opening new frontiers within the sport and stuff like that. Because you could argue a lot of these Masters events want to hold themselves in the same regard as a Grand Slam, for example. Whereas, unfortunately, there can only be 4 Grand Slams per year, at least the way that the calendar works at the moment. I personally would support it staying that way. You can't necessarily have 2 Grand Slams in America and then 3 dotted around the rest of the world, because that would look like it's an unfair advantage, effectively, to the location of all these American players. But yeah, a lot of these tournaments do often want to portray themselves as offering something different, which is exactly what the Miami Open tried to do until 2007. And this brings us to question number 5. Yes, that was a lovely transition. We can all applaud that. The men's final until 2007 at Miami was played as a best of 5 sets. Yes, just like a Grand Slam. The ATP then required in 2007 that all Masters events were not able to do this anymore, and that only Grand Slams on the ATP and WTA tours were able, or ATP Tour, this is only really concerning the ATP Tour, of course, because only male players are used to 5-set matches. But they then required that this was only the case for Grand Slams. So Masters events could no longer do this in their finals. What I want to know is who won in the final year that Miami had a best of 5 sets final. And you got 4 options. You'll like these options too. Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, Andy Murray, or John Isner.
Ooh, I don't like that last option.
You don't? He's done quite well in America,
Oh. No, yeah, I know it's not like he's had a bad career, let's put it that way.
I mean, he's won Indian Wells.
There you go. It's more than many a player can say. See, I remember my main memory of it being best of 5 was like Nadal and Federer playing a best of 5 final, but I feel like that might have been 05 or 06, back when Nadal was in his, vest days, or whatever you want to call it. The sleeveless era of Rafa with the long like basketball shorts. But then that's early days of Novak as well, isn't it? Around 07. Ooh, because I remember him. It was 07 or 08 when he played Federer in the US Open. And Federer beat him reasonably soundly, but like Novak was he was getting closer at that point. Or what were the options again? Apart from wait, it is was it Federer, Djokovic, and who was the other
Murray.
one? Don't know why I'm laughing there. Actually, maybe just because you're a fan, you have to
I
stick
mean, I
him in
put a
there.
question in earlier that Roger Federer was part of. We can never know what we're going to do.
Oh, I'm torn between Novak and Roger. Hmm. You know what? I'll go against my favorite player, and I will go with Novak Djokovic on this
You're
occasion.
going to go with Novak.
Yeah,
Final answer?
why not?
You are correct. Well done.
Oh,
Yes, it was indeed Novak Djokovic. It was the last person to win the Miami Open when it was a best of 5 sets in the final. Yeah, good job. Yes, it was early days for Novak Djokovic in terms of becoming the dominant character we know him as today, but yeah, he managed it in the final of that one. And guess who he played?
I have no idea.
Do you know? Not, yeah, you sure you can't work it out?
um, Federer.
Federer.
Do you actually know who it is?
I do, I do. So it was actually a player you probably don't know,
Try me.
Guillermo Cañas.
Mm. It's funny you should
Yeah,
say
you
that.
definitely struggled with that one, didn't you? Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, yeah.
I remember some guy called like Cuevas or something, but I don't think I remember Cañas. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, I could
well,
be saying it wrong, but
well, probably not.
you never know.
Not that wrong. But
Interestingly though, you know how you laughed when Andy Murray, I knew you would laugh as well. You know when you laughed at Andy Murray being on the list? How many times did Andy Murray win it?
one.
2. He won in
Oh,
2009 and in 2013.
oh, okay. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
remember he did do like even when he was in his earlier stages, like he did pretty well in a lot of these like Masters events or ATP events. I remember him playing like Djokovic a few times. I remember watching it like in on some crappy TV in like the Canary Islands in Spain and hearing like Spanish commentators saying Andy Murray. That was like my abiding memory of Murray in the early days. And he'd have these like big battles with Novak and stuff with the loose t-shirts that didn't fit them properly.
Yep.
That was rather amusing.
That was the style. That was the style at the time.
Yeah, throwback.
Prompted probably by the likes of Hewitt, Agassi, Sampras, Roddick. They all had the loose shirts in the early days, didn't they? Yeah. Well, you'd always go, and then I'm ready to sit. Yeah.
I used to do that when I played. I was like, oh, this looks cool. Don't know why I'm doing it, but oh wow, interesting that Djokovic did it. I suppose back then it would have maybe it's a good way of building a bit of confidence for the Grand Slams, like knowing that you can win a best of 5 in a big tournament. But obviously now, I don't know. Did they change it just because of like player welfare, or was it?
No, a lot of it was to do with the schedule and the fact that even a best of 5 sets final, that might, for example, be unfairly biased towards the next tournament, where that player might be like, well, I'm knackered now, but I've won a 1,000-point Masters, so I'm not going to turn up at this next tournament. And that was kind of the point. It was to make the schedule a little bit more manageable because, you know, if you've won a 3-set final, even if it's close, it's not like a 5-set, you know.
Yeah. But you do get a few days off though, still, if you reach the back end of a tournament. Well, I suppose if you're a higher seeded player, I think you still get a few days, don't you, between those two tournaments?
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose if it's best of 5, that's still. I don't know. Like,
try and do that. Try and do that for an entire year solidly. You might have some different opinions.
Yeah, because I guess it was for all Masters events, right?
Yeah.
As a best of 5, I suppose they wanted to kind of market themselves as different in some way from like a 500 or 250, but
Yeah.
I guess the fact that you've got more points available in itself is probably, enough, and
Special
prize
enough.
money.
Yeah.
So yeah, plus it runs over a slightly longer period of time, and you've got all the better players, so that should be enough. But yeah, obviously we haven't really talked about the current tournament that much, but let us know your predictions on the men's, women's, and double side. So who you think is going to win it? Obviously next time we will have a review of what's gone on at the Hard Rock Stadium. It still makes me
Home of the
laugh.
Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, but it's like all I think of is Hard Rock Cafe. But anyway, yeah, if you have enjoyed this, give us a follow on different podcast platforms. Now I'm just thinking about burger and chips. And give us a like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. And we will see you in the next one.